So let's go ahead and jump right into our tasting. And as we do that, take just a thought about these different characteristics, starting with the green fruit, moving from green and sort of in the 10 o'clock position over to citrus, then passion, and then grass, stone fruit, and Caspian, which is the bell pepper. So those are characteristics that you might find, or you can kind of maybe think about the aromas and flavors you get as we go through the wines today. So before we jump into our tasting, are there any questions?
So what were you saying that the concrete egg gives?
It actually, the way the concrete eggs are formed, it actually keeps the fermentation sort of circulating and moving the lees around so that it creates a beautiful richness and textural enhancement. It adds a little body to it as well. And some people think, I know we have some winemakers here. Brian, do you use eggs at all? Couple. Some people think it adds a little minerality. I don't know if that's... Your winemaker does? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you get maybe you're picking up some of the stones from the concrete or something to give it a little bit of a unique mineral edge. Yeah.
Question. Why does exposure to oak enable Sauvignon Blanc to age long?
So when you're adding oak, you're adding... there is some tannins you get from the oak, which add a little bit of a structural enrichment to keep the wine, preventing the wine from oxidizing. But also it adds more complexity, and it adds the textural richness. A wine that is light and fresh and fermented at cool temperatures is probably meant to be drunk young so that you capture those bright young fruit characteristics. With a barrel, you're getting a warmer fermentation, so you're not getting as much of those fruity characters, but you're getting maybe a nice, some citrus, some passion fruit, some of those characters, but then you're also getting the oak, and it just makes it more complex. And then the wine can develop, adding even more complexity with, things like maybe it gets a little bit of hazelnut or maybe a little bit of caramel or characteristics you get, from bottle aging. Dried fruit can be another interesting character. Again, it's very subjective whether you like the flavors that develop with bottle age or not, but adding the oak adds more complexity and adds some structure, some body to allow the wine to hold on for even longer. Okay, so we're going to start off, and you have a tasting sheet. So we're going to start off in the Loire Valley. Our first wine is a Sancerre. And go ahead and, while I'm chatting, please go ahead and have a sip, and then we can talk about it in just a moment. And one of the things that's key about this region, they call it the Central Vineyards. If you look on maps of the Loire Valley, that's because the Loire River is a long river. It's about 800 miles that starts in the Massif Central and kind of goes north, and then it flows directly west out into the Atlantic. And the middle, sort of the central part of the river, is right here in Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé, which is why they call it the Central Vineyards. This area has a very cold winter, and it's a continental climate, so the temperature gets really cold in the winter. Snow is very common, but then it has warm summers. But because of a cold winter, it does put the vines at risk for frost in the spring, so that's something that's a threat. And also hailstorms are very common in this region in the summertime. But the warm summer days and also higher latitude allows some long growing season to develop some beautiful flavors with that good light intensity. And the warm temperatures are warm but not hot, so it really allows the freshness and the acidity to be maintained. One of the things that is found here is of all the region in the Central Vineyard area, all the vineyards, there's not just Sauvignon Blanc, there's also Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir makes up about 20-25%, and Sauvignon Blanc makes a little bit over 70% of all the grapes, and then there's some miscellaneous other varieties as well. And between Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé, the soils are similar, and I'll talk about the three types of soils here in a moment, but aspect is also important. And the thing about Sancerre that differs from Pouilly-Fumé is that Sancerre tends to be a little bit more on hillsides, rolling hillsides. So where you have more exposure to the sun, you'll probably have better ripening. If you're sort of facing north, you're probably not going to get as much sunlight and maybe not as well-ripened fruit.